Hello, and welcome to Clearing the Haze, the podcast that cuts through the fog of drug culture, policy, and hype with cold, hard facts and a commitment to keeping it real. I'm your host, Chuck Marting, and today we're going to dive into a trend that's got a lot of folks talking and even some employers sweating. Psilocybin mushrooms. Yep, magic mushrooms. They're legal for persons here in Colorado, and it's starting to pop up in other states and in places you might not expect it, like speed dating events fueled by microdosing. But what happens when these mushrooms sneak into the workplace? Are we normalizing a substance that's unpredictable, maybe even dangerous? Buckle up, folks. Let's clear the haze. So first, let's have some context. Colorado has been a trailblazer in the psychedelic world. Since late 2022, adults 21 age and older can legally possess and use psilocybin mushrooms thanks to a voter-approved measure. Now we have healing centers for supervised use that are slated to open here in Colorado very soon. And now we've got lawmakers passing bills like House Bill 251063 that's paving the way for doctors to prescribe synthetic psilocybin. That is, if the FDA gives it the green light. Meanwhile, here in Denver, a place called Planet Magic Cafe is hosting something called the Mushroom Matchup. So I want you to picture this. Dozens of singles, microdosing psilocybin, then speed dating to connect on a deeper level. Sounds like a wild Friday night, doesn't it? But it's got me thinking, what's the ripple effect when we start treating psychedelics like a social lubricant or a creative booster, especially at work? So let's start with the basics. Psilocybin is the stuff in magic mushrooms that messes with your head. In a good way for some, as they claim, and not so much for others. It can shift your mood, your perception, even how you think. Microdosing, like what's happening at this mushroom matchup, involves taking tiny amounts, say 125 milligrams of psilocybin, mixed with other things like lion's mane, things like that. The idea that you're not going to have a galactic trip. You're just going to be open, more creative, maybe more focused. Planet Magic's folks say it helps people drop into the moment and helps them in ditching their jitters of meeting someone new. Sounds nice for a date, but what about your 9 to 5? Here's the deal. Workplaces aren't cafes or therapy couches. They're where we build things, we fix things, we make decisions that matter. So if you're microdosing at your desk, what's the risk? Psilocybin's effects aren't a one-size-fit-all deal. There are some folks that swear it sharpens their edge, like coders and artists, and you name it, but there are others that get very anxious, distracted, or just plain spacey. So imagine you're a nurse dosing meds, or even a truck driver hauling freight, and you just feel a little off. That could mean a big mistake. And it's not just about screwing up a spreadsheet. There's jobs like construction, healthcare, or even public transit that demand precision. So even a subtle shift in judgment could spell disaster. Then there's the legalness. Now, sure, Colorado says you can have your mushrooms at home, but workplaces can still enforce drug-free policies. Psilocybin is still a Schedule 1 federally, same as heroin. So if your boss catches wind that you're microdosing, you might be out the door, state law or not. And let's be real, normalizing this stuff like Planet Magic's doing with their dating nights makes it feel safe, maybe even trendy. But trendy doesn't mean safe when you're on the clock. Now, let's talk about something even more scarier. Flashbacks. No, not the kind where you're reminiscing about your college road trip. I'm talking about hallucinogen persisting perception disorder, or HPPD for short. It's rare, but it's real. Flashbacks are when you get hit with pieces of psychedelic experiences like visual weirdness, emotional waves, or feeling like reality's glitching. And it's happened long after you're sober. Could be days, could be weeks, even years later. With psilocybin, it happens. And that's the problem when you're saying operating a forklift or you're closing $1 million deal. So I want you to picture this. You're microdosing at the mushroom matchup, and it happened about a month ago. You had a blast, you met some cool people. Now you're back at work. Maybe you're running a crane or teaching a classroom of kids. Out of nowhere, your vision gets wavy, or you feel like you're floating away. That's a flashback. And it's not something you can just shake off. Even if it's mild, say some sparkles in your peripheral vision, it's enough to throw your game off. If it's worse, like panic or disorientation, or maybe even a visual or audible hallucination, you're not just a liability to yourself. You're a risk to everyone around you. Now, the folks at Planet Magic talk about psilocybin opening your heart, helping you connect. That might be great for speed dating, but you're not mentioning the flashbacks. Nobody's saying, hey, you might see tracers while you're welding 6 months from now. And that's the issue. We're hearing all about the upside, creativity, mental health breakthroughs, even potential FDA approval for depression treatment, like the House bills are bidding on right now. But the downside, it's like playing roulette with your brain. Workplaces need predictability, not a wild card that you hit when you least expect it. Now, let's zoom out for a minute. What we're seeing in Colorado isn't just about mushrooms at a orky dating event. It's a bigger push to make psilocybin mainstream. Planet Magic's mushroom matchup is part of their Dose Denver campaign. Think sharing circles, mimosa fundraisers, all centered on microdosing. They're selling community, connection, and this idea that a little psilocybin can make life a little richer. Then you got House Bill 25-1063 passed just last month. It's setting the stage for synthetic psilocybin prescriptions. That is, if the FDA signs off on it. It's framed as a hope for veterans with PTSD or folks with stubborn depression. Both are noble goals, no doubt. But here's the rub. We're starting to treat a wildly unpredictable substance like it's aspirin. Psilocybin's not like a cup of coffee or even a shot of whiskey. Its effects depend on what's called set and setting. Your mood, your environment, your brain's wiring. In a controlled setting like a therapist's office, that might be manageable. But at a speed dating mixer, or God forbid, you're in your cubicle, you're rolling the dice. One person might feel euphoric, another might spiral into paranoia. In Westward Magazine, their piece on Planet Magic quotes their team saying, microdosing helps you be in your body. And that sounds lovely. But what if being in your body means you're feeling like your hands are made of jello while you're signing a contract? This push to normalize psilocybin sends mixed signals. On one hand, Colorado's saying it's cool for personal use. On the other, it's still illegal to sell, and the feds haven't even budged on that. But events like Mushroom Matchup make it feel like no big deal. Just pop a capsule and find your soulmate. But if it's not a big deal, why isn't it regulated like alcohol or even marijuana is? And here's the kicker. The House bill that is tied to, there we go, synthetic psilocybin, it's patented by a company called Compass Pathways. Now, critics are already crying foul, saying that big pharma is about to cash in while small time healers get squeezed out. So, are we normalizing medicine or just paving the way for profits? Workplace wise, this is a minefield. If psilocybin's normal, what's stopping employees from experimenting? In creative fields, ad agencies, tech startups, microdosing's already got a cult following. But what happens when a bad reaction tanks a project, or worse, someone gets hurt? Employers are left holding the bag. They're trying to balance open-mindedness with liability. And let's not kid ourselves. Nobody's drug testing for mushrooms yet. But if this trend grows, they might have to, and very soon. We've already experienced this. We've already tested 6 people brought in under reasonable suspicion where the employers, I don't know what's going on with this individual, and they would tell us the stories that are going on. It is scaring us right now what the impact this will have on employers and the workplace. All right, let's go to a question that I received. And it's from a listener who sent this in, and we're going to call his name Jake in Boulder. And he wrote, Chuck, I work in a creative field, graphic design, and some of my colleagues microdose psilocybin. They say it helps their work. Should I be worried? It's a good question, Jake. Look, I get the appeal. Sharper ideas, maybe a little less stress. But here's the reality. Psilocybin is a gamble. You might feel like Picasso one day, but the next could be anxiety, distraction, or down the line, a flashback that screws with your deadline. Plus, if your workplace has a drug testing policy, you're on thin ice. My advice, talk to your HR, see where that line is drawn. And if your coworkers are pushing it, maybe remind them that creativity doesn't need a chemical crutch. So keep us posted, Jake. Love to hear back from you. I wish we had time for more, but you can always hit us up at helpclearthehaze@gmail.com with your questions and comments about the show. Or you can tweet us at ClearHazePod. Before we wrap up, I want to be clear. Clearing the haze isn't about demonizing psychedelics. There may be promise in psilocybin for mental health studies. I don't know. And it may be taking place the bills that Colorado's betting on. But promise isn't proof. And workplaces, they're not labs. We need rules that keep people safe, not vibes that sound cool on paper. So, where does that leave us? Psilocybin's on the rise. Speed dating mixers, new laws, whispers of FDA approval. It's very exciting for some and very unsettling for others. But when it comes to the workplace, the stakes are high. A substance that can spark joy one minute and fear and hallucinations and paranoia in the next doesn't play nice with a punch card and deadlines. From subtle impairments to real threats of flashbacks, psilocybin's unpredictability is a huge red flag. Normalizing it might feel progressive, but work is where we build, create, and serve, not where we roll the dice on altered states of mind. So what do you think? Should mushrooms stay out of the workplace? Drop us a line at helpclearthehaze@gmail.com or hit us up on X at ClearHazePod. Subscribe for more episodes where we tackle the tough stuff. No filter, no fluff. So as we're chasing connection and creativity, let's not lose sight of what keeps us grounded. Psilocybin might open minds, but it's not to be in the workplace. What we need in the workplace is clarity, not chaos. We need to get the job done and get it done right. This is Chuck Marting signing off with a simple truth. The real magic is in keeping our heads clear and our hands steady. Until next time, stay sharp, stay safe, and keep clearing the haze. Take care.